Hey everybody, CJ here. I just want to take a brief moment to highly recommend you read the description. Thank you and enjoy.
I was asked, and let me repeat, I was asked to write a ranking, and so I did. To cover some very basic ground rules, every piece of zombies related content is included in this. That also means every version of maps that have been created, all the studios, all the maps, all the modes. I'm not some fake fan who's going to do a Treyarch only ranking. Those are extremely lame. I've played pretty much everything that's come out, for better or worse. I've done every Easter egg, most of them solo. The criteria for which I rank a map is pretty much whatever I want it to be, except story, unless I feel the need to mention it. The main zombie storyline pretty much lost me after Black Ops 2, as I stated in the Black Ops 3 video. And aside from IW being pretty straightforward story-wise, I really don't know anything about the story in the other developers' games. Some maps I'll have a lot to say, others not so much. Extinction is not included in this because it's not zombies, although to be entirely honest with you, most of those maps would be in the top half of this list if it was. Extinction is really good. Go find friends to play it with if you haven't. DS Zombies or Mobile Zombies is also not on the list. Don't think I need to explain that one. Other than those though, I think it's pretty definitive. Let's get into it. Coming in dead last, and man, it had some stiff competition. The most vile, pointless, stinky, least enjoyable, and biggest waste of dev time on this list. Some of you may be surprised it's even on the list at all. It's Nightmares from Black Ops 3. Black Ops 3's campaign was already bad, like really bad. This is somehow even worse. It carries over the same voice acting too, which if you haven't heard it, the voice acting for the male player character in Black Ops 3's campaign is some of the worst voice acting I've ever heard. It sounds like the dude isn't even trying. The zombies in this mode also have pre-nerf hit speed and stun lock you like you've been hit with a concussion grenade. It is pure trash. You get nothing for finishing it. The writing in this is god-awful to boot. They even buried this in the game's menus like they were embarrassed of it, and they should be. I give Nightmares a 1 out of 10. The lowest of the low. It doesn't go lower than this one. Although honestly, I would give it a 0. This map is here because Treyarch thought it would be a great idea to take a map they already released, add basically nothing to it, and make the tint of the map green. It is irredeemable. After some people thought Vanguard might actually get on the right footing, they just completely gave up with this last map. That's why it's not even worth talking about. 1 out of 10. Garbage. Well, would you look at that? It's the Archon's partner in crimes against humanity. People tricked themselves into thinking that this map was better than Duranfong because it actually had more on it and a unique environment. The problem with that is, somehow this map plays even worse than all those trash MP maps that were lazily stitched together. What is here is abhorrent. The Wonder Weapon sucks ass. The Easter egg is pointless and practically non-existent. The dialogue in this map is so cringe, it seriously gives Monty a run for his money. These gods have got to be the most poorly written, cringe characters Treyarch has ever made. It makes Mass Effect Andromeda look like Shakespeare. 1 out of 10. Do I even need to say anything? You all knew this would be here in the first 5 minutes. To answer my own question, no. No, I don't. 1 out of 10. This is the most nothing map Treyarch has ever managed to make. It's a struggle to find things to talk about, but one aspect of this survival map that I hate is how they use this massive hunk of junk to cover the hole where the bus would normally drive over instead of just leaving it as is so you could jump over it. It makes this map play like garbage. If it's not going to have Jug or anything else on it for that matter, I'd like to at least be able to do cool movement and dodge zombies on it. Really can't do that here. This just isn't enjoyable in the slightest. It is the worst survival map they have ever made. 1 out of 10. I think it could be argued that this is what single-handedly killed World War II zombies for the community at the time. The objectives are bad, the pacing is bad, the round 10 cap for each map is bad, the maps themselves do nothing for or with the objective format, the bosses are bad, and the Easter egg is truly one of the worst. Seriously, the zombie escort step feels like it wasn't even playtested. My guy dies in one hit, and if he dies, you have to restart the entire thing. I respect the ambition of this DLC, but on a fundamental level, none of it is fun or works in any way. Easily a 1 out of 10. I'm sorry to all my rebooting Exo enjoyers out there, but Exo Zombies is very bad, and this map is pure filth. Nearly everything a map could do wrong, Infection has it in spades. These survivor escorts waste your time and add nothing to the map other than an annoyance to deal with. Otherwise, all the generators on the map are shut off for no reason, and the only thing you get in return is a meager weapon upgrade for one gun. The Goliath? Terrible boss. Shoots homing EMP rockets as if not being able to use your exosuit wasn't already one of the hallmarks of this entire horrible mode. And saving the best for last, certain sections of the map are periodically gassed, making it so you can't even go into those parts of the map until it's over. The best part of this is, once you get to a certain round, you can't go to any part of the map. The bad wonder weapon, bland environment, and lousy Easter egg are just icing on the cake. This map easily gets a 1 out of 10. I genuinely considered including the Mephistopheles boss fight into ranking this map, but it feels so disconnected from the map itself, and it's so bad otherwise, that I didn't think it was fair. This map feels borderline broken with the power on. Like, the slasher that spawns at round 20 feels nearly unkillable. On top of that, to have all these obnoxious enemy types in one map that don't play well together at all, it feels like they were trying to copy Treyarch on Revelations with no thought put into it whatsoever. The quest to get and upgrade the Venom X is really frustrating and way too long, so good luck trying to high around this map without Director's Cut. This map story-wise also felt like a truly terrible send-off for Extinction. It's downright disrespectful. I gotta give this map a 1 out of 10. It sucks. I put this here mostly out of spite because I truly hate this version of the map. I went over this in the Black Ops 3 video, shameless plug, but in short they ruined the Shrink Ray, Widow's Wine doesn't work with the Shrink Ray, and BO3 spawn system and hit speed don't work with this map at all. Truly an awful remaster. The only props I will give it is that the Eclipse mode in this version looks pretty. That's it. We're going up to a 2 out of 10. It's not on the same level as the maps before it, but screwing up a remaster is worse than a bad original map. Like, all the pieces are already there, so I find that pretty unacceptable. They massacred a map that already wasn't good to begin with. This map is here primarily because if they were to have changed the core mechanics of Exo Zombies with the release of any map, it would have been this one. So the annoying EMZ spam, guns doing no damage, having to pack your gun 20 times, and the way hordes bunch up in this game is super loose and unsatisfying. The chaos of it ironically makes it boring, on top of the other issues the game already has. The music Easter egg is this embarrassingly lazy cut of Flight of the Valkyries because they couldn't afford to, or what's more likely is that Raven didn't even care enough to make music of their own for this map. I just had to mention it because it's so absurd. Aside from that, this map is just bland. Easter egg sucks because it's Exo Zombies and they're all bad, obviously. Anyway, 2 out of 10, we're moving on. Yeah, 2.5 out of 10. So this is the first Dead Ops on the list. I think this one is the worst because it doesn't have the depth and the expansion of 3, and I don't have the fond memories of it like I do with 1. I also think the minigames in this one just kind of suck. That shadow challenge early on with the guys who teleport is really not fun either. I don't like Dead Ops that much anyway, so I'm not an expert by any means. The only one I've beaten is 3, but I definitely had the least fun playing this one for sure. 2.5 out of 10. This is kind of a throwaway mode for Cold War. I don't enjoy following the orb. It takes way too long to get even remotely challenging, and as lazy as it would have been, I would have much preferred instead if they just took MP maps wholesale and made them round-based. This mode as it is just isn't it. 2.5 out of 10, total snooze fest. We went over this with most of Dead Ops 2, but nostalgia only gets you so far. 2 slots higher, that is. This was really just a fun novelty when it came out. I don't think there's anything offensive about Dead Ops. It's a competent twin-stick shooter. It's just we have to compare it to actual zombies maps. So in comparison, I have to give this a 3 out of 10, not for me. Burrow is the worst grief map on this list. That's because on this map, nearly everything from Buried is available to both teams, and the Paralyzer is even in the box. The overpowered wall buys that are on Buried are here too. There are some really annoying game-breaking out-of-bounds glitches on this map too that were never patched. That's another factor as to why this map sucks. Fundamentally, Grief, as we'll touch on later in this list, is best when both teams need to struggle somewhat. The matches on this map will just never end. 9 times out of 10, most of the people on both teams leave out of boredom. I do wish they took what they made for this map and made it a survival map, but for Grief, it's just not fun to play at all because both teams easily become way too powerful, way too quickly. 3 out of 10. A lot of the BO1 ports from World at War have aged really poorly in my opinion. Noct is no exception. It doesn't have the interesting jank that it had in World at War, and it doesn't have the freer, more open features that it has in BO3. The only thing of note this version even did was add the Thunder Gun and Monkey Bombs, but with zombies being able to hit you while sprinting now in BO1's engine, it makes Noct in particular frustrating and not a lot of fun in this game. 3 out of 10, boring. Not a whole lot to talk about. I like the railing jump you can do to hit the box through the floor, but that's about it. This is a decent Grief map though. I like how small and condensed it is. With 8 players it becomes all out insanity, and without Pack-a-Punch matches don't go on forever and ever. Despite that though, I have to give it a 3 out of 10. Cold take and or hot take, because I know this map is divisive, but I've never liked it at all. It's everything wrong with Blundell Excess wrapped into one map. To keep this short, because I could talk for an hour about what I don't like, the puzzles are bad, the enemies are annoying, the Wonder Weapon does a bunch of things we've already seen before. The gimmick of all the effects being random is pointless because they all insta-kill. It's the illusion of depth because they weren't very creative, and that's exactly how this whole map feels. I hate the layout too, and unlike most of BO4, the color is really lacking on this map. When I go out to that cemetery or the greenhouse, I feel like I'm playing Cold War. It's that lacking in personality. For me, it's a 3 out of 10. I really dislike this map. Feel free to roast me in the comments. Now, I'm not gonna lie, despite our first playthrough video seeming less than optimistic when it first released.
Alright, here we are.
I'm already bored. I actually did grow to enjoy MWZ as many others did during the launch period and even into the first season. It felt genuinely new and refreshing despite just being on a Warzone map. What ultimately killed this game and why it's so low on this list is a subject that many don't talk about. Most here on YouTube just pretend that MWZ was always bad and that they always hated it. Why this mode went from surprising success to flop within the first few months is very simple. It's the updates and content drops. They were awful. From not patching game-breaking glitches that defeated the purpose of even playing the game, copy-pasting the same portal gimmick from the first season over and over with the same repetitive item hunts, and filling them with schematics that weren't even remotely worthwhile, not adding any new areas or contracts to the main map, and refusing to reward players with any of the story content past what was offered with the main story missions when the game launched. It felt like right after Season 1, they just gave up on MWZ, only doing the bare minimum to fulfill obligations throughout the rest of the year. I genuinely think this mode could have been great if it were nurtured and given proper attention, but as it stands, I have to give it a 3 out of 10. This game was a real bummer. Like I said with Noct, these BO1 remasters don't have much purpose anymore. Verrucht is especially bad because it has the Winter's Howl, and you obviously can't even pack it. Like, what were they smoking? 3 out of 10. It's the best of Vanguard, but it's still Vanguard. I didn't really like the Easter egg in this, and the dialogue and writing is still just god-awful. The engine this mode runs on still feels half-baked. You can sometimes glide through zombies like they don't even have collision. There's only one new area, and that doesn't really add much. This map is very below average, and it's not even the best version of Shino Numa. I have little to no fun playing this, just because of how the game is. 3.5 out of 10. People in the comments are going to pretend this is a hot take, like we live in a universe where all the Cold War round-based maps aren't all basically the same. This map is soulless, has no color outside of a dark ether you're in for all of 5 minutes. Noct is just there for fake nostalgia. The Wonder Weapon is a BFG from Temu, and the variants aren't much better. The Easter egg is lousy, and Orlov at the end can't even die because they wanted disabled people to be able to complete their first Easter egg. Also, pet peeve, the coffin dance is annoying and takes way too long, and the fact that the entire team is thrust into sitting through this crap because one guy shot these orbs is terrible game design. The only enjoyment I had on this map was camping at the top of Noct with that door closed, but even that gets old fast. This map also, most importantly, marks the beginning of the modern zombies era, and for that I will never forgive it. 3.5 out of 10. Some will call this recency bias, but I really don't think this is a good map. The quests aren't good at all. I despise the plating system in BO6, and even golden plates are not enough to make me ever want to play this map. The reuse of old content feels like fake nostalgia, and I hope and pray that older fans don't actually fall for this stuff. That Origins music that plays when you go into the pack room made me cringe extremely hard. It's completely unearned. Also, the annoying character they shoehorned into this map that constantly talks to you is also cringe and completely kills whatever vibe the map was going for. That seems to be a modern zombie staple. Have a super lol XD quirky character talk to you every 5 minutes, otherwise they think you'll get bored. It's like TikTok in character form. Pure trash. Zombies feels like it's trying to ape Marvel now with dumb story crossovers and member berries. This map isn't even a fifth as good as the maps it references, and it's a void of its own soul and identity. I would have rather waited the 2 extra months to get a map that was worth at least something. 3.5 out of 10. And honestly, those 2 extra points are just for golden plates, nothing else. This has pretty much the same problems as D Machine. The only difference is I like the No Man's Land-esque opening to the map, and the Crystal Axe is kind of cool. Although the melee part of it, when it becomes a 2-hit kill in the higher rounds, it's a lot less effective and not as fun to use. A horrible difference from D Machine, though, is that this whole map, the environment, the skybox, were all ripped from a campaign mission wholesale with practically no changes. And the lazy band-aid fix they applied to this map was to put zip lines and teleporters everywhere because they were seemingly too incompetent to be able to logically connect the parts of the map together. The Easter egg is also the most pitiful Easter egg in Cold War, which is really saying something, and the boss fight is barely a boss. I'm going to give this map the first 4 out of 10. This map is another disappointing finale. They really hyped the game up with the lore of the Raven Lords and a lost city buried under ice, and you get here only for it to be this really bland, boring ice cave that's really close to the surface with a bunch of uninteresting ancient junk everywhere. The quests to get the wonder weapons on this map are some of the worst, most excessive quests ever put into zombies. Like, the only reason they made them that way is because that's basically the entire Easter egg. This map seriously lacks content. The weapons themselves are really strong, but they're so comically overpowered to the point where pressing one button is all you need to do for high rounds. I wish I was exaggerating. Best part of this map is the boss fight, which if you do legitimately, it is very difficult and well designed, but aside from that, there really isn't anything else to offer on this map. 4 out of 10. Another Cold War map. I'm running out of things to talk about. Mauer aesthetically is the most interesting of the maps in this game because you trade bland military bases for bland streets and a bland subway. At least it felt like progress at the time. The only, and I mean only reason this is higher than D Machine and Forsaken is because this map's Easter egg is decent. It wouldn't even be remotely passable in Black Ops 2, 3, or 4, but for Cold War, it's decent. Still though, I hate the fact that you need to use Civil Protector number 3, GI Unit number 4 to stop the train. That step is finicky and awful. Everyone seems to be infatuated with Civil Protector number 3. I'm not really sure why. He's another lazy reuse of assets with quirky dialogue for 12-year-olds, but hey, at least he gets a mohawk, right? It's great too how similar to D Machine, all of a wonder weapon upgrades you can pick up are worse than the base one. You could take the glass half full approach and say they're free ammo, but free ammo shouldn't make my gun worse. That's why at high rounds you don't even pick these up, and with Mule Kick, which was introduced in this map, ammo doesn't matter anyway. They're just pointless and they suck completely. So why are they there? It would have been a nice touch for the Cerberus to have 3 different voices based on the Requiem crew, but even after BO6, I don't like any of these characters, so it means I have to hear cringe dialogue while using the wonder weapon on this map. So yeah, it's actually not nice at all. Also, if it weren't for that floating orb, which really isn't that creative, let's be honest, it would just be another bland laser pistol. Been there, done that. Even the Boom Hilda is more interesting and fun to use than this wonder weapon. This map gets a 4 out of 10. It really only gets those points for the Easter egg. Otherwise, it'd be lower on this list. It's barely different to the other Cold War maps, and yet it's heralded. No idea why. The environment is kind of cool. I think the spawn room is really pretty with the rain pouring down while in the middle of the ocean at night. It's the closest Exo Zombies gets to having an interesting location that I want to know more about. The Trident is a cool and thematically appropriate wonder weapon. I like the ricocheting aspect of it, and it feels somewhat strong, at least by Exo Zombie standards. This map also has the really strong DLC box guns from Carrier with a few cool new ones thrown in like the blunderbuss. Unfortunately, this map just can't escape how bad the mechanics of Exo Zombies are. The EMZs totally ruin the tight hallways of this map, meaning there's only really one good training spot. The Easter egg especially is trash, and the double feature you unlock for completing it is one of the worst modes in Zombies history. The forced boss fights are also very not fun. 4 out of 10. It's just kind of nothing of a map, really. They didn't change much at all from that really disappointing reveal of BO6 where people were able to upload full unedited gameplay of this map a few months before release. This map is flat and uninteresting. Easter egg is a glorified wave defense, and they buffed the jet gun to the point where it's overpowered and kind of just makes the whole gameplay loop boring. People who pretend this map got some kind of major glow up from when we first saw it will never not be funny to me. It was disappointing then, it's disappointing now. 4 out of 10. If the Winter's Howl were just good, I could put this a lot higher, but it really just isn't that fun to play these days. The thing I like most is that you can crouch jump through these windows in the labs, and, you know, the concept of the map is great, but let's be honest with ourselves, I don't want to play 5, you don't want to play 5, nobody you know wants to play 5, it's just how it is. If it weren't for Castro, Kennedy, Nixon, and I guess McNamara, he's there too, this map would not be remembered fondly. 4.5 out of 10 is what I honestly think it deserves. Never cared for this map, even in BO1. Easter egg is good, at least it was back in the day, but now if you've got good teammates, you can bang through it in like 20 minutes. The JGB is a great and iconic wonder weapon. It actually functions in this version. That wonder weapon alone is why Shang is this high, but playing this map has always made me not happy, especially in co-op. Everybody just runs around like chickens with their heads cut off, and the layout is really not good. Should also be said that opening pack is a nightmare with randoms. The mud pit also is one of the most evil and sadistic areas they've ever made. 4.5 out of 10, it's right there with 5. Nobody wants to play it, I'm sorry, the numbers speak for themselves. I think a good chunk of the people watching haven't even played this. It's a pretty bland environment. For the longest time, people thought this was the only map you could get the Sword of Barbarossa on until somewhat recently, and after that discovery, it kind of killed the entire reason to play this map. It's just a circle, and that's really it. Also, this mini quest you have to do to shoot the symbols for this dinghy to pack the melee weapons is dumb. I need to pull up a chart to do it every time. It's very annoying. This map is not worth spending a ton of time on. It isn't very good. 4.5 out of 10. This is the only Onslaught side mode I decided to include because it actually fixes some of my main issues with the regular mode. Instead of the moving orb, it sits in the middle the entire time and you have access to an entire map. And because of that, the surges go really fast. Also, Pack-a-Punch chalices and perks are really spread out. It actually makes this a decently challenging mode. If you go down late into the game, you really need to try hard to come back. Ammo mods are also really rare in this mode, which I like. It's such a simple change, but it makes this entire mode a lot more enjoyable. Still though, I have to give it a 5 out of 10. It's a fun distraction, but it's still on MP maps, and I kind of just wish it were round-based instead of 100 zombies at a time. It's fun every once in a while though, even if it is kind of forgettable. This is probably a lot higher than most people were expecting. This mode came about because after Warzone blew up, Activision forced Treyarch to scrap the sequel to Blackout they were working on. A tragedy because Blackout was great and Warzone is pure garbage. Verdansk was and is a terrible map, I don't care what anyone says. That aside, I think a lot of the people who really hate this mode are just playing it wrong. Because of how loot drops scale with progressing through worlds, side objectives on World 1 and 2 are just completely pointless. They give you absolute junk and the rate for wonder weapons is extremely low. If you spend 30 minutes on these first 2 maps doing absolutely nothing, that's a you problem. I do think there is genuine fun to be had here if, and it's a big if, you play this mode fast. The world skips you can do too by shooting the portal generator help immensely, even though you can only do it twice. You can play through World 1, blitz through it, do World 2, then skip to World 4, do 4, then you can skip to 6. Within 15 minutes, you already have super sprinters, loot sources have a high chance for wonder weapons, and the objectives actually become tough and interesting. The holdout objective in particular becomes a real highlight. It can become a real struggle just to make it through some of them. Also, the super sprinters in these open areas give it a 28 weeks later kind of vibe, and I really enjoy it. The Legion boss fight, though, is very overrated. The only difficult part is if you down at any point, which is honestly pretty easy to avoid. Where this mode falls flat, though, is even though they added objectives throughout the life cycle, there still aren't enough. You will eventually loop to doing the same objective on the same map. Playing this mode with randoms can also be a massive buzzkill because of the voting system. Guys who spend 45 minutes on World 1, even after doing all the objectives, are infuriating. Another big thing too would have been making unique zombies themed maps for this mode and putting mini Easter eggs on them. It would have gone a long way towards making even hardcore zombies fans who hate Outbreak enjoy this mode. Because of those things, while I don't think Outbreak is awful, it does leave a lot to be desired, and just like MWZ, I really do think there's a lot of potential here. The loop of this mode, when you get into it, is enjoyable. But without a lot of unique content, I really have to deduct points, so for that, I'm gonna give it a 5.5 out of 10. This map has grown on me a tiny bit over the years. It's definitely a lot better than Transit. Don't let anybody give you that Die Rise is actually worse than Transit nonsense. Yeah, the elevators are annoying, falling off the map is annoying, and Who's Who being a dumb perk on the wrong map is lame. But despite all of that, the amount of fun I had back in the day trolling on this map is truly unparalleled. This is the best trolling map of all time, hands down. It's not even close. Between putting trample steams in sneaky spots to fling people off the map, standing in front of elevators so people couldn't get off, shooting the sliquifier near ledges so people would slide off, standing near jumps to body block people so they'd fall to their death, it is truly endless. That joy alone is why this is probably higher than it should be in all fairness, but those experiences are ones I could have only had on this map, so I have to go 5.5 out of 10. Higher than it probably should be, but it's brought me so much joy over the years. This is another one that's higher than people would expect, but I enjoyed Dead Ops 3 somewhat. As mentioned previously, this is the only map that I've finished. I really like the Wilds area and the general expansion in this one. It really does feel like a game within a game as opposed to the other two Dead Ops, which just really felt like side modes. I think the mini-games in this one are actually pretty good for the most part. Adding a first-person mode and save states too is great. While that may annoy some hardcore Dead Opsers, I really don't care. First-person makes it play completely differently, which is why I was still able to enjoy it. Still though, I do have to compare it to other Zombies maps, so I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. I had fun playing it though. If you play normal Zombies and you really don't like Dead Ops, you should try the first person mode. It's a pretty good time. This is here because I like Shinonuma. That's pretty much it. However, just like Noct and Verrucht in this game, it sits in this weird middle ground between World at War, which has the weird 24 zombies around thing that makes it stand out, and BO3 where you can actually pack a punch, and it just kind of all around plays better. Still though, this version adds monkey bombs, which is pretty cool, and it keeps the atmosphere from World at War, so I have to give it a 6 out of 10. Not really worth dwelling on. This is by far and away the best Grief map. They knew exactly what they were doing when they made this. Not having Jug on this map was the best decision they could have possibly made. It keeps you on your toes, makes things sporadic, and any team could fall at any moment. You could also get into those situations where both teams fail over and over again, and it's really the closest to how Grief was meant to be. Not to mention the layout works really well for this mode. You have the acid trap and the fan trap sitting next to both of the box locations, making them perfect to kill the other team with when they go for it. The narrow walkways with no railings, especially the one leading to Pack-a-Punch, are perfect for knifing the other team off of. Putting PhD on this map was also genius because buying it and packing your M1911 gives you something tangible to work towards, and that will help immensely because of course you don't have Jug. Similar to Burrow though, I wish they took what they made here and gave you a simple survival map as well, but that didn't come to pass. Still though, it's a Grief map and you need other people to play it. That's its biggest sin. I have to give it a 6 out of 10. The core mechanics of Exo Zombies are still wretched and not very fun to experience, but Carrier is a passable map. The Limbo is a cool wonder weapon, and as mentioned with Descent, this map added a few really powerful box guns that aren't ruined by the awful pack system in this game. They actually do damage. Wow. There's also 2 decontamination pads instead of 1. It makes those rounds slightly less awful and a waste of time. The layout in this one is okay, and unlike Descent, there's 3 goodish training spots instead of 1. Unfortunately though, every few rounds you have these Atlas guys who shoot you and plant bombs. It sucks, but they're easy to deal with. It really is the mechanics of this game that drag this map so far down. I have to give it a 6 out of 10. This map can still be fun to play today. It was the first zombies map I ever played. I was that empty-headed 8-year-old squeaker who couldn't get past round 8 yelling in the Xbox 360 lobbies. Sure, zombies can't hit you while sprinting, but that feels more jank than fun, and none of the other World at War maps have that. In World at War, they were updating the mechanics of the mode from map to map, and not across the entire game like you'd see in updates and patches later on, so in Knock, there's a lot of things missing. Like how the nuke doesn't give you any points, insta-kill only gives you 60 points per kill no matter how you kill the zombie, zombies can't hit you through boards, etc, etc. It makes this map a weird time capsule in a way. A lot of those things also carry over to Verrückt as well. Side note though, I do feel the value of this map inadvertently goes down every time they shamelessly copy-paste it into another game for seemingly no reason. Anyway, OG Knocked, I don't know, 6 out of 10. I really don't have the urge to go back to it very often these days. This map made it high-ish on the list because it has one big advantage. This is the only World War II map to not have whistlings on it. Thank God. Now, they're not as annoying as some special enemies are, but I get BO6 syndrome from the fact that they're on every other map. But this map does have some downsides. The boat rocks left to right periodically, and there are 2 vehicles that can kill you if you're in the way. There's also this really terrible trap in the pack room that shocks half the floor, and I swear to God zombies just run right through this thing. It does absolutely nothing. Aside from that, this map is fine, perfectly average, fun map to mess around on. Gotta give it a 6 out of 10. This is really the only Cold War map I can stand to play without falling asleep. Not really a ringing endorsement, but there are some things I like. First off, this is the only map with mimics that does anything even remotely cool with them in the map itself and in the Easter egg. I actually like the Orta defense rounds. They give much needed variety on this map because the core gameplay of Cold War typically has me comatose before round 40. I think the Reike is a cool wonder weapon and is fun to build. If you hate it, you're bad. I'm sorry. Another hot take, I guess, I think this is the only halfway decent main Easter egg in this game. The steps actually feel like puzzles, including the dartboard step for building the Reike, which people hate for some reason, and actual things happen on this map during the Easter egg, and yes, I think the mimic step is actually creative and pretty good. However, there's some really sucky parts to this map. The environment is still a bland military base. The spawn room is completely ripped from the campaign with barely any changes made to it, which is a disappointing hallmark of pretty much every Cold War map. While I do quite like the Easter egg, the final boss is absolute garbage. Probably the worst final boss to an Easter egg that they've ever made. Firebase also marked the return of the Mangler from Black Ops 3, the consequences of which we are still living with today. This map also commits to a major design fail with the Wonder Fizz, where it's just in the spawn right next to Pack-a-Punch. Every Cold War map after this would also commit to brain-dead Wonder Fizz locations, so to wrap this up, Firebase is okay, honestly kind of subpar, but to me it's the only mainline Cold War map I can stand to play. I have to go with a 6 out of 10. Durice, but worse. Kino is Durice, but worse. Nova Crawlers suck too, they always have. Boring map, overrated, 6 out of 10, that's it. That's right. This is nowhere near the worst map of all time, but it's not that exciting either. I thought this was the perfect map for the middle of the list because it's just so okay. It's perfectly okay. It doesn't have highs or lows, just mids. Easter egg is kind of difficult, but perfectly passable in my opinion. Nothing really stands out about it though. People say there are too many escorts, but in reality there's only one. The whistling. The other 2 are basically just puzzles, so I really don't get why people say that. The boss fight is kind of good with these Power Ranger mutilars. I like the challenge of it. The one phase in the U-boat pin with the fire on the ground is really mean and tough in a good way. Ripsaw is pretty decent if you do the second upgrade, which most people forget about for some reason. It's a pretty solid wonder weapon. You just need that second upgrade. So yeah, this map is fine.
I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10. Darkest Shore is the subject of people calling a truly mediocre map bad, or even the worst, for no other reason other than trying to look different. It's pretty cringe. Another map that doesn't really wow me, but isn't as bad as people would have you believe. It's really lacking in content, though, I gotta say. It's a big nothing of a map, really. There are some pretty bad traps you can repair and some buildables that people exploit for high rounds, but they're really not that good. I do like the mind control buildable that makes a bunch of turn zombies, though. That's about it. What partially saves this map for me is actually the Easter egg. Yes, I like the chem step. That's because unlike most people, I actually know how to do it. It's really not that complicated. But when you task one of the most supposedly driven and dedicated communities to do, dare I say, basic math, they lose their minds and call the whole thing trash. I like the creativity of it. There's really nothing like it, and let's be honest, there probably never will be again. The concept of mixing chemicals and ingredients together to make the bomb really fits the 50s monster movie aesthetic. I also really like the boss fight for the most part. The laser maze at the end is pretty funny. Seeing teammates fail it over and over when it really isn't that hard gets me every time. Having to put the bomb code at the end too gives a nice rush of adrenaline, and I like how if your teammates are bad, you can literally hop over the bomb and do their code for them. It's a huge flex. A big negative I have with this map, though, is that the Ghosts and Skulls quest on this map is truly diabolically awful. And the game itself, Skull Hop, is one of the most frustrating, barely functional, gimmicky pieces of garbage I've ever played in Zombies. The whole thing is actually way harder than the main Easter egg. I hated every second of it, but I had to do it for an achievement if you're wondering why. Whole thing makes no sense when the map itself is actually really easy, meaning that the perma-perks from it are never needed in any scenario. I have to give this map a 6.5 out of 10, a tiny bit above average. You can tell in this map that it's where the budget for zombies in this game disappeared. The 3 maps before this one, whether you like them or not, had way more going on them and actual licensed music. All in all, Attack was a pretty disappointing map when it came out. Shameless plug, but pretty much everything I've ever thought about this map I put in the Black Ops 3 video. Link in the description. I guess one small addendum that I'd make to that is I guess we know why the Flogger is in Origins now. That's because it was, until it wasn't. Then it was again. Very cool Treyarch. Anyway, this map is mediocrity incarnate. Bad send-off for BO3. If you want to hear more about it, again, link in the description. Don't worry, I'm not going to do that for every BO3 map. It's just Rev. There's really nothing else to say. Score, 6.5 out of 10. This map is okay. I really don't get the hype. I think Modern Zombies has just lowered people's standards so much that any glimmer of even mediocrity gets people excited. It's actually pretty sad. Or they're just kids who don't have the perspective of frame of reference for how good zombies used to be, so they'll accept and love anything they get. So look, the map itself is just okay. I think it's really lame that 2 of the 3 Mark II variants are reused from Black Ops 4. It also seems like the only reason the Wunderwaffe is on this map is because they put themselves in a corner by having it in the Liberty Falls cutscene. It's also really annoying how if somebody gets the free Mark II, they have to pretty much do everything in the main Easter egg because the drop rates for wonder weapons in the box in Modern Zombies are hot garbage. I don't think it's really well designed. The cynic in me says that they did this deliberately so that people would spend money on gobblegum packs to get more Wonder Bar gums, but I'll let you decide on that. Boss fight on this map too is just okay. Like, I get it, it's cool that it's the T-Rex reanimated, right? But like, people get so wrapped up in the concept that they don't even care how it is mechanically, which is pretty meh. You know, it runs around, it chomps a lot, final phase it gets really aggressive. It honestly doesn't impress me that much. High value on the spectacle scale, pretty mediocre on the gameplay scale. If it weren't for that dumb Sentinel artifact fight on the tomb, it would be the weakest boss in BO6. Moving on. Another pressing issue is the lack of new content, not just in this map, but also in the season itself is really disappointing. I actually like how BO6 did double tap, except the icon, it's terrible. But honestly, I would have much rather had a completely new perk. I feel the same way about Vulture Raid, even though I like it in BO6. Based on the leaks, though, it seems like BO6 isn't going to get any new ammo mods, perks, or field upgrades. It's all going to be reused content that we've already seen before. And I swear to God, if the next map has reused wonder weapons, I will drop points for that too, even if the map is good, because there's no excuse at this point. Even Cold War had a new wonder weapon on every map. That's the one thing that game did well. So look, Shattered Veil, it's not the second coming of Christ, it's not top 5, not a top 10, not a top 15, and so on. This is a map that I predict will not age well. Just like the maps in Cold War, you hear people go on and on about how great they were, and then you ask them the last time they played it, and it was like 3 years ago. Most of BO6 will suffer the same fate. Not hated, not derided, but forgotten, and in some ways that's worse. This map is a 6.5 out of 10. You'll have fun, but you probably won't feel anything else. Yeah, I don't really think this map is all that remarkable. This map has never really gelled with me all that much. I had way more fun with the other launch maps when this game came out. You know, the ones people pretended to hate. Look where we're at now, guys. Do you regret throwing this game under the bus yet? I would hope so. Anyway, I know a lot of people would have you believe that a map that's literally just a square is somehow simple but brilliant map design, but it's really not. The underground area also really blows. I really dislike the enemy balancing on this map too. You get flooded with catalysts, tigers, and those annoying gladiators. It also feels like past round 20, Blightfathers get spammed every 5 minutes. The wonder weapon on this map is also pretty underwhelming. It's okay for holding Blightfathers in place to down them with another gun, but when it comes to zombies, it does kill them. The problem is, it takes way too long. Really cool concept for a wonder weapon, but it needed a buff to reduce the time it takes to kill hordes. I have no idea why it never got one. It was also really obvious at the time, and now in retrospect. The Easter egg is fine for the most part, but why did they basically round gate it to 15 plus? You can't even use one of the axe guys from the pack trials to get the wood early. Like, it literally won't come off. It's very lame. Not that this map is completely devoid of positives. Treyarch's art team did a great job with this map. Putting the pack strife behind an early challenge reward gives you a decent boost early, even if it leads to people using just it for the entire game. The boss fight with the mammoths, while easy, is very cinematic and well executed. Opening pack is very simple and intuitive, and one thing I really appreciate is that the free perk side Easter egg on this map is very short and simple, unlike the free perk quests in some of the other maps in BO4. Regardless, I don't find this map very much fun to play these days, and I honestly didn't enjoy it that much at launch. I have to give it a 6.5 out of 10. This is a fun little survival map they repurposed from the prologue. I like the short quest to unlock the mystery box, as well as the second quest to pack all of the guns in it. The Brenner boss fight they snuck in at round 50 is also a nice goal to shoot for. But ultimately, I can't justify putting this map any higher than this, and I can't justify giving this map anything higher than a 7 out of 10. So here's the reality with this map. If you get Jug early, as in within the first 2 machine drops, this map is as good as Town. In some ways, it's better because you don't have the stupid lava everywhere. There's also more going on in this map. There's 2 music Easter eggs, the eyes turn blue after round 25, and of course the map has the M27, which is not on any other map. I also think the layout is better than Town, although this might be a hot take. However, statistically speaking, because Jug starts as a 1 in 5 chance, your average Nuketown game will have you struggling and getting frustrated with the fact that most of your games will force you to go to round 15 plus without Jug. In a game with 2 hit downs, mind you. And it's not fun or an enjoyable challenge, it's just tedious. And while it is improbable, if Jug is the last thing you get in a match, it's very likely you and your team will not make it to that point. People will defend this and happily say, get good, but I think if they just made the simple change to hard code the machines to guarantee you Jug within the first 2 drops, then this map would probably be looked back on just as fondly, if not more fondly, than Town. It's the perfect example of one seemingly small change totally dragging a map down. I gotta give it a 7 out of 10. Now, I was very quick to dismiss BO1 Kino, and that's because I just think this version is better in pretty much every category. It plays better, looks better, and the alleyway strat is more viable, so I don't need to deal with Nova Crawlers. Even in this game, though, I don't play Kino very often because it's Kino. There's only so much of this map one man can stand. 7 out of 10. This is yet another map that a not insignificant portion of people believe to either be the worst map ever or the worst Treyarch map ever. I actually think there's quite a few things to enjoy on this map despite the pretty obvious shortcomings. The Easter egg I enjoy, and it rewards you throughout. The Mark II variants on this map are fun to build, even though one of them is complete garbage. Having 8 different characters on this map with different lines is cool, even if they did skimp a little bit on some of the lines. And unlike Shattered Veil, the Mark II frames allow you to get the variants without having to get the Mark II out of the box or the free one. And for Shattered Veil fanboys who are probably 12 years old and never played this map, this is where 2 of the Mark II variants from that map were shamelessly copy-pasted from. I'd also like to point out, the beam ray gun with infinite ammo is not bad at all. There's a misconception that somehow it's bad. You do need to aim for headshots. It does have a headshot multiplier, so if anybody tells you it's bad, they're probably just using it wrong. The damage is pretty good. Side tangent here, however, this map has some pretty obvious flaws. Firstly, the gameplay and the map layout are pretty rough. I hate the Nova Bombers. If you single-handedly remove them, then this map would be 10 slots higher on this ranking. But yeah, they are unbearable. They're like ice catalysts in the Chaos maps on steroids. It's one thing to make the zombies super sprinters, but to make them bullet sponges too? Nah, man, I'm good. And the cramped ass map layout with enemies this tumor inducing are very frustrating. Let's also talk about the garbage way you open Pack-a-Punch on this map. You either gotta throw a Wraith Fire at your feet or stop and kill all these dumbass gas zombies that swarm you when you try to do these. And trying to do them mid-round when the game locks Pack for no reason, it's awful. But despite all of that, I find the map quite replayable. The good is pretty good, but the bad is really, really bad on this map. So, if you hate this map, I get it. But for me, it's a bit of a guilty pleasure. I also don't even want to give it a score because I know it's not good, but I like it anyway. So, you know, this is going to be the one map we don't give a score to because I just can't bring myself to do it. This one ranks high-ish because there's just kind of a vibe to this version of the map I can't explain. It feels very relaxing to play, actually. Having perks and being able to pack. I still hate that the only way I can pack is through Gobblegums, but if I have to take that bitter pill aside for a second, I find playing this map in this game to be pretty enjoyable. It may be controversial, but I do like the Wonder Fizz machine having all the perks in it on the map. Making it more playable is not bad, at least I don't think it is in this case. It's also a nice touch that there's no character dialogue on this map at all. Undone is still in this version as well, which is a phenomenal instrumental that really puts me in a good headspace when it comes on while I'm playing. The really slow spawns are a double-edged sword though. On one hand, yes, it's like the original map, but also it makes the rounds very, very slow, which depending on who you are can either be a good or a bad thing. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, although this one is probably just a guilty pleasure for me. This map is fine. I'll start with the negatives first. I don't even know why the wonder weapons are in the box on this map. They're so rare, you might as well do the quests anyway. Thundergun quest is also really annoying. You have to do all of the challenges on this map, which takes quite a while, and arguably the Tundra Gun is better anyway. And that quest practically takes no effort. Big misconception though is that the wonder weapons suck. The reality is that they aren't even bad, they're just underwhelming, and people conflate that with them being bad. Regardless though, I do agree, reskinning the Tempest from MP and making an elemental thunder gun on top of having it in the map already was pretty lazy. Also, the music box is pretty useless. This is one case where I would genuinely rather have Wraith Fires. The fact that the hits it takes to break the boxes for the heat pack are dependent on how many players are in the game is just totally stupid. Completely brain dead decision. Small gripe too, but Pablo takes way too long, man. Might sound minor, but it genuinely hurts replay value for me. Lastly, I want to give a special shout out to the Sharpshooter Challenge up at the top of the facility. Doing this solo without Winter's Wail is absolutely painful. Now for the positives. I like how Golden Pack allows you to circumvent BO4's terrible pack mechanic. Like, nobody wants to sit there and pack their gun 5 times, dude. That part of BO4 is genuinely awful. I like the changes to the map layout. They're pretty welcome. It plays pretty good. The lava-filled spectacle during the final step of the Easter egg is great. All in all, the map is well-paced. Easter egg is okay. It has a decent amount of side content, unlike Modern Zombies, and it plays fine, but I really don't find myself coming back to it very often these days. 7 out of 10. This map and another one we're going to talk about a little later have been the only bright spots of Modern Zombies for me. Even despite me saying that though, this map is still just in the mediocre to good range. It falls prey to some pretty uninspired visuals, annoying boss spam, Modern Zombies mechanics, more on those later, and this map is too big for its own good. There's a lot of wasted space. Other than being used for side Easter eggs, you would never want to go to or train on any of these other islands. I'm probably going to be crucified for saying this too, but I think the Beam Smasher is a bit too weak. It's good for camping, and that's really it. Switching between the debuff and killing them with the beam is way too slow at health cap, especially when having to dodge super sprinters on top of it. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a good concept for a wonder weapon, and unlike most of BO6 so far, I really appreciate the fact that it's actually a new wonder weapon. My issue is purely with the balancing of it. Despite all that though, I do have a decent time playing this map and doing the Easter egg on it. The boss fight is the biggest highlight of the map, and it's surprisingly good. The Talisman side quest is long, but pretty rewarding. It actually felt like a BO3 or BO4 type side Easter egg, giving you something tangible that you can't get on any other map. I also think it's cool that when you have this on and get a double points, it actually becomes a quad points, which with how expensive everything is in Modern Zombies, it's a very good item. My only gripe is, why is the last step for this all players required? It totally ruins the prospect of ever doing this with randoms. It makes zero sense. Unfortunately though, none of the other side Easter eggs on Terminus really live up to that one other than the Meteor Easter egg. The drop on it is quite good, and more often than not it will give you a ray gun or a beam smasher. There's a couple free perk Easter eggs, but because there's no perk limit, they aren't really all that useful like they were in BO3 and BO4. All in all though, Terminus was fine. I had a prediction before BO6 came out that the game as a whole would be roughly 15 to 20% better than Cold War, and that's about where this map is. So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. The Giant, as I previously stated, is this weird middle ground between a remake and a remaster. It really doesn't work as either. The Wonderwaff in BO3 in general is glitchy. They screwed up the vibe of the map, cough cough, snow. The map doesn't play well at all with BO3's crackhead lightning fast zombies, and that trash extra random perk machine Easter egg is an RNG abomination. Why is Deadshot even on this map? Why would you do this? Why is it a 50-50 if I get a great perk or not? It doesn't make any sense. The Giant at this point is just so whatever. I almost never find myself going back to play this. It's like Diet Chronicles in BO3 because it's a remaster that doesn't have any of the additions the Chronicles maps got. It's only landing this high because it's Durice, and even the worst Durice is still fun to play. 7 out of 10. Had a hard time placing this one. You do have to give it credit for introducing perks and traps, and it is still fun to go back to, but the super sprinters are just annoying. Like, they come in as early as round 8, man. It's absolutely wild. The glitchy iteration of Juggernog in this map, though, with the Mach 10 speed health regen, does help balance the scales somewhat. It lands significantly higher than the BO1 version, though, because of the box weapons. PPSH was first ever seen on this map, and overall it's way more playable and enjoyable than the original Noct is these days. I don't have anything else to say about it. 7 out of 10. Ascension, similar to Verrucht, was a very innovative map. It had the first main Easter egg quest as we know it today in all of Zombies. It was the first map to have a unique map-altering set piece with launching the rocket. It was the first map to introduce brand new perks. It was the first map to introduce new tactical equipment other than the monkey bombs. So yes, while the Thunder Gun being reused on this map isn't ideal, this map was very integral to where Zombies would go as a mode. An oddity with this map too are the weird dodging zombies that only appear in this version of the map. So I'm putting Ascension here mostly for its importance. Playing it today, however, it's fun, but you do have better options. 7 out of 10. This map is here because I just love it. A lot of good memories. First map to have the Wonderwaff, first map with Hellhounds, first map with our characters. Of course, what people know this map for today is having the easiest high rounds in history, which is true. This is solely here as a nostalgia pick. I almost never go back and play this version though, to be quite honest, but it's still good. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Easily the best playing and looking of the Tortured Path survival maps. It's just a good time. Like the other maps, you have access to most of a game's wonder weapons in the box, and of course you also have access to the sword. Why this map lands so much higher than the others though is the more open space you're allowed, and as previously stated, the quite beautiful environment you're placed in. My only knock on this map would be the sharpshooter minigame to get the Pack-a-Punch piece to upgrade the melee weapons. It's pretty obnoxious to do solo. Aside from that, this is just a fun, really laid-back survival map. It's a go-to for me when I want to play World War II but can't decide on a map. If you haven't played it, seriously go give it a try. Because it's a survival map though with not a lot extra, I do have to be realistic and give it a 7 out of 10.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
As stated previously, I think this is one of the most overrated maps of all time. This map absolutely does lack in creativity. Old mechanics are needlessly brought back and done worse, like Beast Mode. It's a downgrade of Afterlife that is worse for new and hardcore players alike. Apparently saying that is a contradiction though, according to dumb people. But regardless, the sword eggs are tedious. Riding the train in general and for the symbols is a boring venture where you sit there and do nothing. The characters are bland, their stories are basically like the mobsters but worse. The setup on this map is bad, the pacing is bad, the rituals are a snooze fest, and the side Easter eggs are awful and pointless. According to some people, though, the side Easter eggs being pointless doesn't matter, because it just doesn't matter. Nobody explained why that makes sense, they just said it over and over. So it must be true, right? Why is it there if it's pointless? I don't know. I wish I was on the second plane of reality that these people are on to feel that way, but I'm not. However, there are things on this map that are good. The high rounds are fun. The branching path layout, even though it's been done to death, and I think it's kind of lazy here, works. It's a tried and true formula. Once you get past the boring setup, this map does go into a good flow state, regardless of player count, and being able to flatten the Margos with the Silver Protector is nice. So purely for that gameplay experience, I'm going to give Shadows a 7 out of 10. Seriously overrated map. I can still enjoy it, but you guys really can't take criticism of it. It's pretty funny. And I know people are going to say, oh, it's ironic you telling us that we can't take criticism when you're complaining about what people said about the Black Ops 3 video. It's amazing. I already know what you're going to say because you all are truly a hive mind. Okay, say it with me. This map is not that bad. You feel better? Alright. Voyage has a lot of good qualities. We'll get to the bad in a second, but clearly a lot of love went into making this map, from the side Easter eggs to the details in the environment to how layered and long the main Easter egg is, to at least having a unique enemy that's only on this map. A bad layout does not make a bad map. I firmly believe that, and don't get me wrong, the layout is horrendous, and there's several problems that arise from that, like not being able to find the box, annoying to learn part locations, things like that. It takes 1, not 2, not 3, but 5 playthroughs just to get your head around how they laid this map out. At least that's how it was for me in 2018, but I do think this map has a lot more good than bad. Firstly, the main Easter egg is replayable, challenging, and I think well designed. It also caps off with a genuinely great boss fight. I don't love the first step, that being the clock puzzle, but the rest of this Easter egg is fantastic and really well paced. The shield upgrade is really goofy and fun to do. The free perk on this map is also really simple and easy to do, and unlike modern zombies, it's actually rewarding to do these. People give the Kraken and its elemental variants a lot of unfair hate as wonder weapons, but I enjoy using them, and the distillation kit allows you to basically have infinite ammo for all 4 variants. That's also why I think the high rounds on this map are pretty enjoyable, all things considered. Voyage was the subject of a hate mob at the time of its release because people took one look at the layout, and on top of the other issues BO4 had, they just said nope. But if you peel back the layers on this map and actually give it a chance, there's a lot to enjoy here. And if you compare it to what we're getting now, for the most part, Voyage looks better and better as time goes on. We're going up to an 8 out of 10. All the maps from this point on are absolutely good maps. This is another one that I think is quite underrated, primarily because a lot of people either skipped World War II or only played the Final Reich. But alongside that map, this is one of the other bright spots of World War II Zombies. The map itself is quite small, but through the melee weapon quests, they managed to pack a lot of things into it. Unlike Frozen Dawn, the quests here feel appropriately long and the puzzles are well put together. I always find it satisfying to open the safe for the switchblade. You actually need to turn the dial left and right like an actual lock. Unlike modern zombies where they baby you and you just input the numbers through a HUD element on your screen. I also think it's a nice touch in the Bat quest where if you give the smuggler a pack-a-punched weapon, he survives. This map isn't perfect though. The boss fight is pretty bad, like really bad. It's a really tedious exercise in patience because the boss in each of his phases has these really annoying damage caps. That basically means the boss will take roughly the same amount of time each time you fight him. This also means in co-op, it's best for one person to deal with the boss and for everyone else to go pound sand and train zombies around. I will give credit though, the blimp is a cool environment and I wish you could go back after the boss fight were finished. This map will also get an 8 out of 10. Once you learn it, it's pretty replayable and fun despite the bad boss fight. I mean, it's town, you know? We all played this instead because even back in the day, transit was terrible. I'm also rating the grief portion of this map too because I have so many great memories of knifing people into lava, or especially the people who would AFK, you could just kill them right off the rip. The troll potential for the EMPs was endless too. You had to make the choice. Do I EMP Jug in the hopes their team dies faster, or save it for one of them pack-a-punching, or cripple them in some other way? One huge pro for this map in Grief too is that because the map was so confined, you didn't have to worry about zombies spawning in too slowly with 8 players. Like what can happen on Cell Block if people are too far apart. Grief on this map was a pretty good time. Survival-wise, it was a fun playground when BO2 came out, and it feels good to play with friends to this day. This is also the only map where Tombstone actually functions like it should, and you don't have to run across 3 football fields just so it can despawn and be left with nothing. I'm going to give Town an 8 out of 10. It's still fun. Go play it. So here it is. The only, and I mean the only, good Modern Zombies map. It is still weighed down by Modern Zombies' bad mechanics, i.e. the perk system, the point system, the kill streaks, plating, tack sprint, piss poor implementation of super sprinters, boss spam, spawning in with field upgrades, and whatever gun you want. The list goes on and on. Seriously, I could go on and on. Modern Zombies is made for camo grinding Warzone bros who only play it once a month. Which, you know, in my opinion, you should probably make your game for the people who are still going to be playing it years from now, and not the guys who only play it as a minor distraction from the poorly made Battle Royale, only to then get shuffled off to the next horrible COD that comes out that they will also buy overpriced skins in. Anyway, this map is pretty good. I like the swords a lot. The quests are pretty well designed and short, but the scrolls feel like an extension of the sword quests, and they're very rewarding. Unfortunately, the void scroll is very bad. I don't even really know what it does because it doesn't seem to kill zombies, but that's an aside. I absolutely love how the other 3 scrolls delete bosses and respawn pretty quickly. It rewards you by letting you eliminate one of the most cancerous parts of Modern Zombies, that being the boss spam. The main Easter egg itself does actually feel like a series of puzzles, as opposed to other Modern Zombies maps where it's basically just go here, do this, try not to be bored. That's the hardest part, by the way. I really like the boss fight in this map. He's super aggressive and the arena looks great, and it's very tight in close quarters. Unfortunately though, around the time this map came out, there was a glitch with Idolize that made the boss stand still, and this plagued public matches. Every time you'd get to the boss, they'd do it because they're so trash they had no hope of killing him any other way. Really annoying. I do have some other gripes though, of course. The map visually is still not there. Other than the boss arena, as I mentioned, the map is really lacking color and life. I don't know what happened to the artists at Treyarch. Most of them are probably long gone. It looks really bland for the most part, an unfortunate Modern Zombie staple. But this map, quest and Easter egg wise, is clearly different to what we've received in the last 5 years. I know all the kids are in their Shattered Veil hype phase, but when this game is said and done, I think this will be the only map people want to come back to, and for good reason. It's probably a fluke, but it's a welcome fluke from Modern Zombies. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. This map is extremely underrated. I think the layout is good, I love the setting, the wonder weapons are phenomenal, the Easter egg is challenging and rewarding, doing Ghosts and Skulls isn't pure cancer, unlike the other IW maps, and I love the music on this map. But there's one kinda sorta huge problem with it. A problem that if it weren't there, this could have been top 10. You know what it is. You all know what it is. It's those goddamn Kung Fu zombies. They are an abomination. They break the flow of the game. They spawn in way too frequently. They're just a nightmare. But I do think there are a lot of other great things on this map. Nunchucks and a katana are on this map as actual wonder weapons and not bad knife reskins. Look, every shot I can take at Modern Zombies, I will. The Easter egg on this map gets a lot of unfair hate. Yes, there are some bad steps, like following the rat. I've never liked running around the whole map to get the symbols to activate the Morse code phone, but there's a lot in this Easter egg to enjoy as well. First off, it's actually challenging. that will always get points from me. There's actual puzzles in this map, which again, Modern Zombies putting everything into perspective is amazing. The boss fight and all of the bosses in IW aren't just a straightforward shoot them until they die. There's a good amount of depth with this one. I actually like the heart step. It's a decent challenge, especially in co-op where the timer is really short. The Rat King heart, which you get towards the end of the Easter egg, is really powerful, and it makes the Easter egg worth doing for high rounds. Locking the main wonder weapon behind the Easter egg is something that I'm a little mixed on, but it's no doubt an incredible reward, one that carries over from game to game. Although the nunchucks are there too if you don't want to do the main Easter egg, so all in all, I think it's pretty well designed. Buildables on this map too are mostly unique and they're pretty fun. This map is good, but it would be great, maybe even top 10, if it weren't for those goddamn Kung Fu zombies. Still though, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's absolutely worth experiencing if you haven't. This is the last IW map that actually had a budget, and it shows. I think there's a lot to love here. Yet another map where if the wonder weapons were better, it would be higher. While not as innovative as Ascension, it does some pretty cool things. George is the first actual boss zombie we ever got. It introduced Deadshot, which, you know, is a thing. The Easter egg reward is actually good, but more importantly, it carries over from game to game. Making a solo and co-op version of the Easter egg was the first, and I think the last time they ever did anything like it. The VR11 in co-op isn't useless like it is in solo, but in a mode where the main appeal is killing zombies, buffing your teammates so they can kill all the zombies is not very well thought out in my opinion. It makes the game a pretty boring experience. That's why this map might just have some of the worst co-op high rounds ever. Not to mention, there's no aim assist on your teammates, of course, so be prepared to miss some of those valuable shots if they're moving even slightly. Let's talk about the Scavenger. If we're going off of looks, sound, and all-around cool factor, this would be an S-tier wonder weapon. Unfortunately, all those things are pretty misleading when you actually start using it, because it becomes a 2-shot kill in the 30s and quickly falls off after that. Especially when it becomes a 3-shot kill, it feels awful to use, and the ammo just isn't there for it. The one saving grace to this map is the Wunderwaffe, but because it's a weird power-up type thing, there are a lot of limitations to it. I know I'm making this map sound bad, but the round 1 to 30 experience is phenomenal. But past that, it's really not that fun at all. But look, if there's any part of a map to get right, it is the classic round 1 to 30. And of course, the Easter egg is really well put together. It's way more formed than the one on Ascension was. Call of the Dead is getting an 8 out of 10. If the Scavenger just did infinite damage, or you could buff yourself with the VR11, this map would have been an all-timer. It's still a good experience though, and if you haven't played it, you absolutely should. The one map where I don't have to shell out $20 to play as Kevin Smith. You can actually earn him in this map by doing the Easter egg. I think just saying that blew a Modern Zombies fan's mind. But seriously, this map has a short Easter egg, 4 elemental bow wonder weapons, that's never been done before, and a 5th secret wonder weapon that shoots saw blades. Wow. What I think Rave does well is pure gameplay. Layout is solid, the island is a great training spot, but as a trade-off, the only thing over there is Pack-a-Punch. The water where the fish trap is located is probably the best training spot. The trap itself is great too, but it only works if you have the frog charm, which gives you full movement speed inside the water. Because you can only put charms on normal guns, that means you can't carry 2 or even 3 crossbows at once if you want to train over there. There's another trade-off. Even though the Easter egg is short, I do think the boss is pretty good. I do also want to give a shout out to the Trap-O-Matic. It's definitely the most creative of the wonder weapons, even though it's the one that everyone seems to hate, because you can't just use it as a panic button when you're trapped, and you actually need to aim with it. So it makes sense that a community filled with people who aren't as good at zombies as they think they are would hate it. However, the Trap-O-Matic, kills to ammo wise, is actually the best crossbow because, you guessed it, it can kill more than 24 zombies with one of these laser trap placements. Man, it's just like the Void Bow all over again. Ammo isn't a big issue on this map because there's multiple ways to get ammo, one of those being the rewind grenade, which you can get from one of the trials on the map. Oddly enough, it's right outside spawn and it's extremely easy to do. As mentioned earlier, you can hold multiple crossbows, even 3 at once if you wanted to. So yeah, you're kinda overpowered on this map. And yes, that rewind grenade outside of spawn does make the other door in spawn worthless. This map has some drawbacks, but high rounds are a lot of fun, and the short Easter egg actually works to its benefit. It makes the map pretty replayable. So I'm gonna give Rave an 8 out of 10. Single-handedly, putting the Wunderwaffe and the Mark II on this map changed pretty much everything. The high round strategies, training, camping, you name it. So simple, yet they elevate the entire experience. Monkey bombs being here too is also a positive, even though they were also in the Black Ops 1 version. I have similar feelings to Noct. Making these maps more playable means you'll look at them no differently to other maps and will want to play them more. Needing Gobblegums to pack, though, is still scummy and pay to win. We'll never not call that out. The zombies in the original Verrucht were already fast, so BO3's crackhead zombies don't feel out of place like they do in the rest of BO3. PPSH is in the box on this map like it was in the original. It's always a highlight when that gun is there, except in modern zombies where it's basically like every other SMG but worse. AATs also make the more campy gameplay on this map more enjoyable. I have a way better time playing this map than I do BO1s or World at Wars, and if you're being honest with yourself, you do too. Verrucht translated really well into BO3, and the visuals on this one are faithful and an all-around improvement. BO3 Verrucht is going to get an 8 out of 10. Buried's biggest highlight and standout for me, and why it's this high, is the Easter egg. I think it's the best main Easter egg Treyarch has ever made, and with how bad and misguided Modern Zombies is in its quest design, it probably always will be. The question is, though, which one? There are two, after all. Well, they both have their positives, and quite a few steps overlap, but I have to give it to the Maxis version of this Easter egg. The Wisp step is really a rush, and your teammates need to be training in the right places to get it there. And the bells are a really well put together step. It's exciting and gets everyone involved. Those two steps are the biggest differences, but I also have to shout out the Infinity Round step in the Richthofen Easter egg. Really intriguing and fun step where everybody's running around checking bodies while trying not to die. Of course, the thing that caps this Easter egg off, regardless of the side you're doing, is the Sharpshooter step. It's really simple, but it's a great way to end an Easter egg, and of course there's always one guy in your team who can't hit them all, and you end up sitting there shooting targets for over an hour, but again, it incorporates all 4 people and it's satisfying as hell to do. People complain about 4-player required Easter eggs, but it is implemented perfectly here. Everybody has something to do for most of it, and the coordination required makes it an enjoyable experience for everybody. 4-player Easter eggs are not the problem, it's how they're handled. Look no further than Buried. Now for the rest of the map, for me, it's just okay for the most part. Vulture Aid is a great and creative perk, even though it is overpowered. The Paralyzer is cool for flying around, that's a great feature, but the rest of it I find kinda meh. Layout-wise, buildable-wise, and wonder weapon-wise, this is a pretty campy map. Not really my preferred way to play zombies. I don't think training on this map is even viable, at least I don't know of any good spots for it. The Super Easter Egg is cool, but the rewards for it are only for that game, and it resets your entire team's Easter egg progress on all the Victus maps, which is extremely lame. It even resets the nav card tables, which is horrendous. So look, if I wasn't counting the Easter egg, this map would probably be in the middle of the list, but I love it so much I have to give it fair credit. A great main quest can really lift a map on its shoulders. That's why Buried gets an 8 out of 10. Another remaster that's better than the original in every conceivable way other than the issues BO3 has, like cancerous microtransactions and crackhead zombies, but everything else is better here. In fact, those cancerous microtransactions are actually countered by the map itself. Those incredible monkeys will take most of a scrub's perks if he pops a perkaholic. It is truly beautiful to witness. Some of them hate it so much that they play this map as a no power challenge. Those monkeys scare them so much they won't even turn on power. I mean, it really doesn't get much better than that. Jokes aside, BO3 Ascension is fun. It's a good laid-back kind of map to just enjoy. A weird quirk is that there's a Wonder Fizz on this map, but there's only 2 perks in it, Deadshot and Double Tap, and the monkeys can't steal either one. A weird rule in Chronicles, other than on Origins, is that if the perk has a machine on the map, it's not in the Wonder Fizz. Ascension is a classic. It's even better here, enough said, 8 out of 10. Now, I said it earlier, I love Shinonuma. This is by far and away the best version of it. Being able to slide through most of the water and completely bypass it feels great. Makes the map play way better. Just like the other World at War maps in BO3, being able to pack a punch and the Mark II being here are just awesome quality of life additions. PPSH is on this map too, have to call it out. I just love playing it. The training is fun, camping in the huts is fun, especially in co-op where people can watch the windows. Shinonuma to me is just quintessential zombies. 8 out of 10. I don't think I really need to explain this one, but I'll try. Other than some of the jank, like zombies sucking you in when they hit you, this map has aged extremely well. It introduced Pack-a-Punch, the layout is great, the trap placements are flawless, the guns are still so fun to use, the atmosphere is unmatched, and this is where the zombie storyline really took off. However, there's one issue with this map that's not the zombies having black hole grabs, it's the Wonder Waft causing your health to not regenerate. It's a really well-known bug, or maybe feature. It doesn't do this in Shinonuma, so there's really no way to know. It doesn't ruin Durice by any means, there's still traps that you can use to get to high rounds, but it's an unfortunate stain on this map in my opinion. Even the World at War version though is an all-time classic, and is still a lot of fun to go back to. But Waft Glitch included, I have to give it an 8 out of 10.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
This map barely cracks the top 15 because even though I think it's pretty overrated, it is replayable, and as I stated in that coveted BO3 video, it is a pale imitation of Origins. But it succeeds far more in that than Shadows does as a pale imitation of Mob of the Dead. The bow quests are well designed and very replayable, even if the dragon heads, baffling door placement, and poorly placed dog rounds kill the pacing. The main Easter egg is also replayable, despite the wisp step being a time waste step specifically designed to waste time and be obnoxious. The snow aesthetic fits this map far more than the giant, and even though the map is pretty gray, there's still quite a lot of color here. Take notes, modern zombies. And the high rounds are pretty fun, even if the Panzer on this map sucks complete ass. See, with every positive, there's some kind of drawback. Apparently, none of those things matter though because they're nitpicks. Try to figure that one out for me, I still have no idea. Regardless, the map is good. There, I said it. If you want more detail on why this isn't the greatest map of all time though, BO3 video. Link in the description. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Now this is what the Giant should have been. This is 5 in a completely different context with new areas. Adding Area 51 for Moon is great, and the mini quest to clear all the debris is satisfying and fun to do. The Winter's Howl was buffed. No longer is it completely worthless. They doubled the fire rate and tripled the ammo. Because BO4 has a health cap, it eventually becomes a 4-shot kill forever. I'm not going to lie to you and say it's a great wonder weapon or anything, but on this map, it's perfectly usable at high rounds, and paired with the Mark II, it's a pretty nice combo. Sure, people were sad about not having the Pentagon Thief, but he was a pretty small part of the original map, and I really don't feel like that much is gone with his absence, especially because the bonfire sale is still on this map. Replacing him with dogs does sting though, because they're a problem across all of BO4 Ether. I guess they just didn't have enough money to make special enemies, so it's dogs on every map. I really hate it. The round 150 cutscene was a good idea in theory, but because the game was so broken, you couldn't actually get the cutscene legitimately for months. There was a glitch, however, to play the map in custom mutations with everything enabled, so that the cutscene would play normally. Classified is great. It's really the only survival-esque map in BO4, and it actually changes 5 in mostly positive ways. It's a perfect example of how to remake a classic map that people really didn't enjoy. I love playing it. I still play it to this day. I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. Classified is pretty great. It may be Origins, but worse, but it's still Origins, so it lands here almost by default. You may wonder, why is this version worse? Well, first off, the staffs were nerfed across the board. The fire rate is lower on all of them, and the charge times are also longer for all of them. Fire Staff got a damage nerf. No idea why, probably an oversight. All the fun glitches were patched. The holding multiple staffs glitch, getting the Panzer stuck, skipping the robot head step with the Fire Staff, Elemental Knife, and oh yeah, that elemental part, there are no elemental punches in this map at all. It just upgrades your punch to do slightly more damage for that step in the Easter egg now, which is peak laziness. Also, fun fact, Widow's Wine breaks the punches in this version, and half the time you try to use them, they just won't do damage. It is awful. Anyway, if you're gonna remaster a map, go all out and do it right, for God's sakes. You're telling me BO3 Ascension, just for one map, you can remake the Sickle and the Matryoshka dolls, but you can't do the elemental punches or the spike mores for Shangri-La? It's like a bad joke, it really is. Also, the Panzer in this version is pure trash. They broke him completely. Killing him with normal bullet guns when he spawns in now on round 8 is pure hell. I think they accidentally broke his headshot multiplier. It's like it doesn't even exist now. To be clear though, it isn't all worse in this version. There are some small touches I appreciate, like how the Tommy gun is now a wall buy at the bottom of the mound. The golden helmet is actually modeled on your character. You can hold 3 G-strikes instead of only having 2, like in the original map. That's pretty much all I got. It's still Origins, even if it is worse, so I'm gonna give it an 8.5. This map is really special for a lot of reasons. This is where the original storyline was cracked open, and it has tons of great moments. Opening the MPD, Richtofen switching souls with Sam, blowing up the Earth, of course. This was also the era of zombies where the maps themselves were playgrounds for Treyarch to experiment. The hacker allows you to flip game mechanics on their head. The QED does things in this map people didn't think were possible in zombies. The wave gun transforming and being 2 guns in one is another example. No Man's Land was also really unique and caught everyone off guard when they first loaded into the map. It was a very different kind of experience compared to everything else that had come out up to that point. Every challenge this map throws at you can easily be circumvented. There's a lot of great training spots on this map with and without the spacesuit. Being able to hack wall buys as well makes the BO1 guns feel a lot better with free ammo, basically. The layout is pretty good, and this map plays pretty well with 4 people. There is a cool glitch in this version where you can duplicate the hacker. It's actually really easy to do. It's kind of nice when everybody can stop the excavators. Not everything here is great though. All 4 people needing to be on the pad to go back to Earth sucks. It's the same problem as Shangri-La, but thankfully not as bad here because if your teammates die, you can use the teleporter, thank God. The glitch with the Gersh device where the Moon Man runs at you is absolutely terrible, and I don't know how that didn't get patched. The randomness in the Easter egg has always been a sticking point with this map. You can either get this entire Easter egg done in 20 minutes, or you can be there for hours waiting for the Tunnel 6 drill or hitting the box. Regardless, Moon is a really important map. A lot of what was done in Black Ops 2 would not have been possible without this map pushing those boundaries. It's a map that I can always go back to. That's why I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. Now this map right here, is why I enjoyed Black Ops 4's launch despite the problems. Now that doesn't mean I don't have issues with this map, but a majority of the things people complain about are blown way out of proportion. Let's start with the Easter egg, the #1 thing people complain about. My criticism of the Easter egg is not the Morse code, that's actually really easy. I don't know what the hell people are talking about with that. It's literally just 2 digits you need to punch in, and it takes no effort. It's not the bird step. He's actually pretty easy to listen for and spot, even if you don't know the locations. It's not even having to shield blast this ghost dude like 20 times, because if you know where the sparking box is to get a full shield charge, you can do this entire step by yourself, even in a 4-player game if you've upgraded your shield. It also isn't the Simon Says that well long and punishing isn't really that bad if you know what you're doing. My main criticism of the Easter egg is really just that it's too long. I think in an effort to up production value, they put way too many steps in this Easter egg. If one of the challenge orbs were cut, then it would roughly be BO3 Easter egg length, and honestly, I wouldn't really have any issues with it. There are parts of this Easter egg that, to me, are quite enjoyable, and the challenge of it plays a pretty big part in that. People also like to complain about the Hell's Redeemer being pointless, but you can get more kills per second with the Redeemer, especially with time slip in the modifier, than you can with Wraithfires. So yes, it is an upgrade, and it's pretty good in this map. Although I will concede the quest to get the Redeemer is really not great. Having to find the random ghost dog on a dog round is pure agony, and I absolutely hate it. I'd also like to point out the doghead placements in this map are still better than Der Eisendrache because, hey, these areas are actually pretty tight and hard to train in. Who would have guessed? The Magmagat, at least on classic difficulty, is a good wonder weapon. It complements the Redeemer really well. You shoot it and the zombies that still come at you can easily be cleaned up by chucking it out there. One criticism I do agree with, though, is that the map is too big, and that feeds into a pretty annoying pack system. It could have easily been solved by simply just telling you where it is. I have no idea how that got past playtesting. A disappointment I share as well is the fact that the Golden Gate Bridge is not in this map. And it wasn't even used for the final boss. It's a real bummer. But look, I like this map quite a lot. I don't think it ruins the legacy of Mob of the Dead in any way. The people who unironically say that are total clowns. I like the setup, I think the catwalk is awesome and a great way to get points if you play it smart. Unpopular opinion as well, but the shield replacing Afterlife is perfectly fine to me, and I don't have an issue with it. It's pretty powerful too, and it can even revive teammates. And whether you like it or not, it's definitely one of the most unique shields we ever got. The Mark II being added to this map later on as well made it even better. I flat out really like this map, and unlike Alpha Omega, there are no qualifiers to that. I think it's straight up a good map, and I really don't get why people were let down by it. Blood of the Dead is getting a 9 out of 10. Go get a Hell's Redeemer, a Magmagat, and a Mark II, and get to a high round, and try to tell me this map sucks. I couldn't imagine still thinking that afterwards. Even taking the Easter egg out of it, I always have a good time on this map. The bones of Mob make the layout good, and I honestly like everything they added. The hate for this map seems so forced to me. I guess BO4's launch broke people's brains, and they just can't look at anything in this game objectively. It's really strange. This is the best Duris. It may seem out of left field with how lackluster I think the other BO1 remasters are, but this one is different. Compared to World at War, the Wunderwaffe does not take your jug. Some of the BO1 box guns are actually welcome here, like the crossbow, ballistic knife, etc, etc. But unlike BO3, all of the World at War guns are on the wall. It doesn't have BO3's crackhead zombies, and it doesn't have World at War's glitchy zombies that suck you in when they hit you. It feels normal. Quick Revive, of course, also works in solo. It has all of the quality of life features with none of the annoying things in BO3. Duris is one of the maps that, even though it's basic, it's infinitely replayable to me. So the best version of Duris had to rank this high. It's just the law. 9 out of 10. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to stand on a soapbox and wax poetic about how underrated World War II Zombies is. As you've seen so far in this list, it's a very colossal hit or miss kind of game. This map, though, it's pretty good. Great, even. When World War II came out, some balancing issues that would be fixed later aside, people thought we'd be in for a great year off the back of mostly this map alone. It has a cool atmosphere, great wonder weapons, really well made Easter egg that has 2 versions, great and difficult character challenges. It's a pretty great start for the story too. It sets up a lot of questions and brings out genuine intrigue. And unlike what Treyarch has done with the story since Black Ops 3, it isn't cringe. But there are downsides to this map. There kinda has to be, right? Starting off, charging the Reaper battery sucks, just completely. The bombers aren't the issue, it's the trash saw blade trap that feels really inconsistent. It's not hard to do, it can just be really frustrating. The jump scare zombies are also spammed way too much in this map. They were actually fixed in later maps to where they're extremely rare, but they were left unchanged in this map for whatever reason. The only difference with the hardcore version of the boss fight is the length of time the boss is gone after each phase. It doesn't make it any more difficult, it really only serves to waste time. No idea why they did that. Those things are pretty minor though, but they do irritate me. This map isn't very big either, and I don't think the layout is amazing. With that being said though, I'm still gonna give it a 9 out of 10. The things I said were mostly just small annoyances. The replay value here is just way too high. This map should have been the lifeline BO4 needed, but unfortunately there was so much bad will in the community by that point, people didn't even give it a chance. Not saying the hate wasn't justified, the game wasn't functional for 6 months, fair enough, but this map is pretty special. It is a beautiful looking map filled with tons of detail and historical references. This map also has an incredible shield. It may not be the most effective necessarily, but it's a lot of fun. The 4 gauntlets all feel distinct, and their upgrade quests are very simple. The Pegasus Strike is probably the most overpowered special grenade they've ever made, in a good way. The main Easter egg is one of the best Easter eggs they've ever made, and the boss fight is one of the best boss fights they've ever made. This was also the map where trials were introduced. The entire system verbatim would be shamelessly copy-pasted into Cold War, but honestly, it works way better in this map. The rewards here actually matter, and it isn't just a glorified wonder weapon dispenser for bad players who don't want to build them. You can get self-revives, free perks, a copy of the Pegasus Strike if somebody has already built it, etc., etc. They're worth doing, even late into the game. Sadly, we do have to talk about negatives now. One big flaw in this map, it's that damn horse ride to get to the second half of the map being all players required. In fact, it's one of the strictest all players required there is. Because if somebody is dead, or even if all of your teammates are and you try to do it, you cannot take the horse ride. It is bafflingly stupid. Makes this map, unfortunately, a nightmare to play with randoms. A broader issue, though, too, is that the map is really light on content. Other than the main Easter egg and the second gauntlet upgrade, which most people don't do, by the way, there is not much else to do in this map. You run out of things pretty quick. It's short and sweet, but I do have to deduct a bit because, yeah, pretty much everything here is good, but there really isn't enough here. It seems like on some level they ran out of time and they decided to cut down on side Easter eggs to get everything else done. It paid off, but I really would have liked it if it had both. This map as an experience, though, is still top tier. It is the best BO4 has to offer, and it is the closest this game got to making me interested in the Chaos story. So it deserves credit for that, because before this map came out, I genuinely thought that would have been impossible. Ancient Evil is a great map, and it's better to leave me wanting more than wanting less, so for that, it still deserves a 9 out of 10. It should go without saying, but Mob of the Dead is a map that completely reinvented zombies and pushed it in a direction that, yes, was divisive even at the time, but it felt like a proper evolution. It wasn't changing things that didn't need to be changed, it wasn't betraying the legacy of the mode, it was adding on to it. While that journey with this map style was bumpy as it would go forward, it was a much needed second wind for zombies that carried it forward for years afterwards. While this map isn't as replayable for me as it used to be, it's paced extremely well. The perk placements, especially Jug, are perfect, the setup remains engaging and interesting throughout, and the set piece of flying the plane and crashing into the Golden Gate Bridge is one of the most memorable sequences in all of Zombies. It's a map that you can't go wrong with. It holds up extremely well, and for its significance, it had to be up here on the list. It's a very respectable 9 out of 10. This map managed to set itself apart by not rehashing Mob of the Dead and Origins again, and what a surprise, it's a really great and ambitious map. Now granted, this is a very quest-heavy map, to the point where even if you simply wanted to get the skull and upgrade the wonder weapon to high round, by that point you might as well do the whole Easter egg because you'd be like 75% of the way through it. That's why even though I love this map, it's not one you can play every day, or after a long game of it, you can just jump right back in and want to play it again. It's a special occasion kind of a map, and that's why I couldn't put it any higher. But when that occasion does come around, it's a really great experience, and everything flows really well together. It's not perfect, all 4 players having to do their trials is annoying, and some of the trials themselves are RNG dependent or kind of suck to do in general. That's a pretty small issue for me though, and if your teammates are decent, it really doesn't matter. People complain about Thrashers, but honestly, if they're spawning in constantly for you, that's kind of your fault. Just shoot the spores, dude. It's not that bad. And you have weapons to delete them, like the marshals, which are incredible in this map and are a lot of fun to use. People also love to complain about the map being glitchy, but that only really existed when it came out on PS4. In the nearly 9 years that this map has been out, and even right after it came out on Xbox, I haven't experienced any major glitches. That's just a dumb talking point that is somehow echoed throughout the ages. Makes no sense. Spiderbait is probably the best side Easter egg they've ever made. You actually need to progress really far into the map and earn this one, unlike the mutant injection, which has pretty much ruined BO6 high round, so that's cool. Anyways, Zetsubo is incredible. There's no other map like it, and there's really no major flaws in it for me. It's gonna get the first 10 out of 10. Everything it sets out to do from a design standpoint, it succeeds in. Gorod Krovi was a pretty big departure from how Black Ops 3 had been up to that point. A lot of the zombies was only good in World at War and BO1 types dislike bombed the trailer to this map before it came out because of the fantasy elements, those pretty much just being the dragons, the quest-heavy nature of BO3, and I guess Nikolai's mech suit too. In fact, you can still see those dislikes on the GK trailer to this day. That hate ended up being pretty ironic, because GK is the most BO1-esque map in the game and is totally different from Zetsubo. That map also fed into people feeling like zombies in BO3 was overcomplicated. Of course, just like we saw with Infinite Warfare, most of the people who spammed those dislikes never ended up playing the map, because if they had, they would have quickly realized that GK is a fantastic map. The Easter egg, even for gum-chewing scrubs, can still be difficult, hence why a lot of them still complain about it to this day. But I find it extremely fun and replayable. The permanent perks are also the best Easter egg reward in Black Ops 3. The layout is really well balanced. Even the good training spots can be hard to execute and learn to do properly. The Mark III, while it does cap out in the 60s, can still be useful for high rounds due to the slowing effect. The shield is probably the best shield they've ever made and is arguably the real wonder weapon on this map. But there are a few problems for me that hold it back from being top 3. First off, the gauntlet has some design flaws, but more importantly, past round 70, it has a high chance of crashing your game. A bug that was reported at the time, but never fixed. The valve step to start the Easter egg is poorly designed. You shouldn't need external sources just to start the Easter egg. That's not great. Honestly though, those are my only real issues I have with this map. Everything else is great, and even the issues with the Mark III not killing and the gauntlet crashes don't matter if you just plan to go to round 50. Just like with Call of the Dead, the early round experience here is pretty much perfect. GK, to me, is truly the best of Black Ops 3. It's gonna get a 10 out of 10. Faults with Black Ops 3 aside, it's truly a great map. It's actually a huge red flag for me when people say they hate this map. My immediate thought is usually, well, they must be bad at zombies. And more often than not, when I end up playing with them, that suspicion is proven correct. This is the single best thing post-2010 lawsuit Infinity Ward has made. The original MW3, I don't even count because Sledgehammer made most of that game. Granted, that's not really saying much because they now make not just some of the worst COD games ever, but some of the worst shooters I've ever played. I've pretty much lost all hope that COD will ever be good again, in large part thanks to Infinity Ward. What a garbage studio, at least now. But even in the Infinite Warfare era, this was a different time for Infinity Ward. A lot of the Neversoft developers were still there, most notably Lee Ross and Brian Bright, who were the heads of Extinction and would be the heads of Infinite Warfare Zombies. Now, I bring all this up because many of you may not realize that this map and some of the other IW maps use a lot of Extinction assets, all of which work to this map's benefit. The ammo types, all from Extinction. Exquisite, too, is just Cryptid Slayer ammo. Their experience with Extinction really influenced this map as well. The layout of this map is fantastic. The two currencies, the tokens, and the tickets work really well, unlike the two types of salvage in Cold War. The Wonder Weapon quests are exactly the right level of depth and challenge. The Easter egg is simple and short, but the alien boss fight in Simon Says make up for it by being fairly challenging, especially with 4 players. It's pure chaos. The Easter egg being short and simple also works to the map's benefit, because it isn't as frustrating to die to the boss. The bonus epilogue ending you can get by playing as Willard was really well handled as well. It was a good ending to a game which at this point will never get a sequel, unfortunately. It is also fitting that Infinite Warfare Zombies started on Spaceland and ended on Spaceland. This map is a blast to play and learn. Completing the sticker pack is pretty enjoyable, and thankfully Ghosts and Skulls on this map isn't pure cancer to do, and it coincides with the main Easter egg pretty nicely. The one flaw with this map though, and I can see why they did it, but locking double Pack-a-Punch behind the main Easter egg was a bummer. It was mitigated by Director's Cut, but when I go back to IW now, I really don't like playing with Director's Cut anymore, but it's a pill I'll swallow if I have to double Pack-a-Punch. Spaceland and the Final Reich proved that other developers can make zombies better than Treyarch can in most cases, if given the resources and green light to do it. This map alone is worth the price of admission for Infinite Warfare, although the campaign in IW is pretty good too. Spaceland pretty easily gets a 10 out of 10 for me. This is a map that no matter who you are, you can get a lot out of it. BO3 Moon is excellent. It fixes pretty much every issue the BO1 version had. Guns, unlike BO1, do damage past round 25. The Moon Man doesn't glitch out when you throw a Gersh. In fact, the Moon Man isn't even an issue because 4 of the 5 AATs one-shot him when they activate. Zero gravity is toned down. No longer will you go into a sprint and randomly be flung into a horde. This map got what I can describe as a visual overhaul. It's now extremely colorful and vibrant. In my opinion, if you do a side-by-side, this is the best looking map in Chronicles, hands down. Another thing I love is that through the map itself, it also fixes the issues BO3 has. If I get the hacker, I don't have to worry about some glue-eating invalid on my team giving me a perk I don't want. The RK5 Super Easter Egg reward is phenomenal on this map because of No Man's Land. You can easily get 5k points, whatever perk there is in spawn and pack. Of course, you could also be lame and do all of that with pay-to-win microtransactions, but that aside, it really makes a lackluster reward great. Those are just a couple examples. So, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's perfect. The QEDs were neutered in this version. Half of the effects from it were removed, and the Easter egg is still pretty RNG heavy. But honestly, those are the only issues I have. It's a blast to play, and all of the other pros from BO1 Moon are still here. I'm always down to play this map. It's one of the best maps in BO3, and it's just a touched-up remaster with some quality of life improvements. I know that's going to trigger some people, I hope it does. I love BO3 Moon. We'll never not love BO3 Moon. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Let's also get this out of the way right here at the end. Chronicles was a great DLC. I can't believe I even need to say that in 2025, but unfortunately it's become a pretty common talking point to say that all the BO3 remasters were worse than the originals, and it has absolutely no basis in reality. Shang and Origins are worse, absolutely, but even those vary in quality. Shang, absolutely awful. I mean, just leave it at that. But Origins did have some nice additions, even though they made some pretty terrible decisions, and there are bugs and oversights that were unique to BO3. But everything else in that DLC, as I've tried to advocate for in this list, were good to great for the most part. Moon made it to number 2 because it was already a good map, and it's so much better to play in BO3. And if you watch that 3-hour behemoth of a video, you'll know that I have no bias when it comes to BO3. It is far from a perfect game, but Moon was elevated to a great map. I think Chronicles tries its best and succeeds to make the maps a better experience. The Mark II and Double Tap 2 being on all those maps alone is a massive standout. On top of those, there are some classic weapons in the box. The PPSH being on Verrucht and Shino Numa like it was in the originals was a great touch. Some of the classic wall weapons being there is great too. The Chronicles hate is just weird. I'll never understand it. It could just be cope from Modern Zombies fans. I really don't know. I had to slip this little rant in here at the end because it's just so weird. Chronicles is a phenomenal DLC. Origins being number 1 may seem like conventional wisdom, but the things I have always loved about this map might be things that people don't consciously recognize. This map is basically the first real Black Ops 3 map on a better engine with better weapons. It also doesn't commit the sins of Black Ops 3 maps. Origins has a lot of variety, great pacing, good and well telegraphed environmental hazards, a lot of great rewards, tons of skill expression, even through simple things like getting all 3 of the lightning staff pieces on the tank ride by yourself, reviving people across the map with the revive stick, getting around fast in the mud with the Mark II or the Boomhilda. This map too, as mentioned, has great pacing. From getting out of the trenches, turning on the generators, getting staff pieces, you're always doing something and have something in mind. Which is why popping a shopping free in Black Ops 3 pretty much kills the entire map progression and is extremely obnoxious. Thankfully, I don't need to worry about that here. This version of the map is also home to some really iconic glitches that improve the map, to be entirely honest with you. The skip in the Easter egg to avoid having to put all the staffs in the robots makes the Easter egg flow way better. Getting the Panzer stuck in the trenches is also a classic. Being able to hold 2 or even 3 staffs at once, well broken, was really fun to do. And of course, the elemental knife was also extremely fun, and getting that far into the Easter egg, it made it worth a damn. I should point out as well that this version also has elemental punches, and they all have different stats, something that, as previously mentioned, was ruined in the Black Ops 3 version. The KSG, the Scorpion, the Ballista, and the Scar are all featured in this map, and only in this map. They're all fun to use and give you a reason to hit the box. Also, the box guns in this map that are wall weapons have attachments on them, so the feeling you'd get when you'd get a wall weapon out of the box and be disappointed was completely eliminated here. This may have been Treyarch experimenting with the idea of weapon kits before they did it in BO3, but something like this would have been a way better approach going forward, and it's great in this map. Between the new weapons, the Mark II, the great wall buys in the box on this map actually serves a purpose, unlike, say, Der Eisendrache, and of course, BO3 Origins. This map is perfect to me. It has everything I want in a zombies map. 10 out of 10. I have to reiterate, too, if I haven't already, that we will never, and I mean never, get another zombies map like this again. The people making zombies now do not want this, and by proxy, if you love maps like Origins, they do not want you. The priorities for COD as a franchise now are so far from what I grew up playing that I firmly believe there will never be another golden era, not even close. This level of detail we see in BO2, BO3, BO4, we will never see again. The guys who make the blockouts of the maps now don't even talk to the team at Treyarch who's making the rest of the content. Is it any wonder why environments suck now and they're all bland and have no color, central theme, or soul in them whatsoever? I said at the end of the Black Ops 3 video that Black Ops 6 was their last chance. Well, they had the field goal all lined up for them to score, and instead what happened is they went for it, missed the ball entirely, and kicked themselves in the head. The game is barely better than Cold War and even does things worse, like the garbage armor plating system shamelessly brought in from Warzone with no thought put into it whatsoever. So for me, I really don't care about this franchise anymore. Campaigns are awful, pandering, nostalgic tripe that don't hold a candle to those in the original Modern Warfare trilogy or Treyarch's original trilogy with World at War, Black Ops 1, and Black Ops 2. Multiplayer is a hamster wheel with horrible maps and mechanics, rigged matchmaking, and tries to imitate a formula that was great over a decade ago and is now completely played out. Zombies is now a pale extension of Warzone, solely designed as a camo grinding simulator to get those Warzone bros to buy the game for $70 or get a Game Pass subscription. It's a dumpster fire, and it will continue to be as long as people keep falling for it and buying this perpetual train wreck of a franchise year after year. I haven't spent money on Game Pass in over 4 years. I get it for free, and I did not buy BO6. I would encourage all of you to do the same going forward. This isn't a call to arms and some grandiose boycott. I'm just telling you to stop buying, playing, and fueling through bundle purchases bad games that have no hope of ever being decent. For the good of us all, please. Anyway, that's it. I already know the first comments are going to be L-take, never let bro rank again, rage bait, or whatever other term or sequence of words are in the idiot flavor of the month lexicon. You guys all think the same, you all talk the same. I did a really unfortunate disservice to myself responding to the comments on the BO3 video. I saw all of this nonsense firsthand. The reason I bring this up is not because people had super valid criticisms or had incredible insights in that comment section that made me insecure or whatever about the video. I think it turned out great. I'm still happy I wrote it, and it managed to get out there and be reacted to by a bigger YouTuber. By all metrics, it was a success, and plenty of people enjoyed it. With that being said, when it came to criticism, there's one word that came up over and over again, and a whole bunch of people either missing the points entirely, saying my claims are wrong without being able to refute them in any way, or different variations of nuh-uh. Look, I wanted valid criticisms of that video, not from bigger YouTubers, but from hardcore players in the community, or even custom mappers, the people who actually know BO3 very well. What happened in reality is that some of those people DM'd me and told me they agreed with pretty much all of it. I still want somebody with a lot of BO3 experience who takes the opposite views that I do to take apart that video and actually refute it. I'm still waiting. In fact, there already was a response video. Many of you probably haven't seen it. There were a couple guys who got together to react to our video, to respond to it. Small channel. These guys sat there for 3 hours, and I didn't hear a single good point in response. At least during the parts they didn't skip over for no reason. They even skipped the gobblegum and microtransaction section, which is pretty much the heart of that video if you ask me. Lex also skipped that part, unfortunately. It's essentially what the other sections of the video were all written around, but alas. I am still proud of the rest of that video, to be clear. Getting back to their video though, there was this really annoying kid in there who was shouting at the top of his lungs the entire time. He got so loud and angry that the other guys just gave up. After the first 20 minutes or so, it's just this kid yelling, and nothing he said was accurate or in good faith, or had any basis in reality. Just a small little nugget for you that I remember. He said the wolf bow was the best for killing panzers, when I factually stated that it was the worst. That's the caliber of refutation we're talking here. They can't even get facts straight, let alone address the parts of the video that were purely my opinion. It's truly amazing how bad a video can be. It's unwatchable, and most importantly, it's unlistenable. That kid should never be allowed anywhere near a microphone again. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description. Please go watch it. If you hate our video, then you can go tell that kid he's a genius. Please do. His ego is very big. So big, in fact, that he actually ducked the chance to talk to us several times after the video came out. I don't want you to send hate to these people. Do not do that, please. I just thought it was so amazing I had to shout it out. Now, let's talk about this one word I mentioned. It's in my nightmares. Nitpick. Look, man, if we're talking about literally everything a map has to offer, main Easter egg, aesthetics, map content, map layout, game design elements, quest design, and just going into general detail, if those things are nitpicks for you guys, then I honestly can't help you. If you ask me, I think people clutch their pearls and spam that term over and over because they can't internalize criticisms of things they like. And they see those maps I laid into as the holy grail, and that term was an easy label for them to dismiss literally everything I said. I didn't take it seriously, I still don't take it seriously, and honestly the whole thing was pretty stupid. If you filter that comment section to look for comments with that term, it's gotta be at least a third of them. You guys gotta be more original, for God's sakes. I'm being genuine when I say I really don't think people in this community actually think for themselves. There's like a doctrine of preordained opinions from different sides of this community, and then there's people who deliberately try to be special snowflakes and say they enjoy things that are genuinely awful. I'm sure the very people I'm criticizing right now will claim I did that with this list. That's why I coined the term hive mind. This is the most insincere and insecure gaming community I've ever been a part of, and the YouTubers are at the top of it. And you know how the saying goes, the fish rots from the head on down. Their prescribed, pre-built infrastructure of opinions are a cancer on this community. My broader point is, think for yourself. Do you really love DE and Shadows? Are they actually top 5? Is BO4 really the worst zombies game ever? Is Spaceland the only good map in IW? Is the Final Reich the only good map in World War II? Those are just some examples. Please try, and I mean try, to remove all biases and experience things as fresh as humanly possible. If there's anything to take away from this list, it should be that. So yeah, going back to that idiot lexicon, this is the crash out part of the video, guys. Henry is crashing out. So look, before I crash out any harder, I've got to get out of here. I had to sneak in an unhinged rant at the end. I couldn't not. I did it in the BO3 video too. Can't wait to see the comments on this one. It's going to be great. Thank you all for watching all the way up to this point, whether you enjoyed it or not. I didn't think anybody would. It has been an honor, and until next time.
Is he gone? Is it over? Okay.